They took an offer they couldn't refuse and changed cinema forever. From crying crooners to beloved bodyguards, these Godfather icons may no longer be in the family, but their memory lives on. John Cazale's short-lived but legendary film career didn't really take off until 1972 when Francis Ford Coppola cast him as Fredo Corleone in The Godfather. As the doomed middle son of the Corleone family, Cazale's heartbreaking performance soon became iconic.
I'm smart and I want respect!
After betraying the family in The Godfather Part 2, Fredo was tragically assassinated on the order of his younger brother Michael, played by Al Pacino.
I know it was you, Fredo. You broke my heart.
Perhaps the most interesting thing about Cazale's films, apart from The Godfather and its first sequel, is that each of the three projects had a major connection to the Godfather films. 1974's The Conversation was also directed by Coppola, while the 1975 crime drama Dog Day Afternoon reunited Cazale with Pacino. In his final screen role, 1978's Best Picture Oscar winner The Deer Hunter, Cazale starred opposite Robert De Niro, who portrayed the young Vito Corleone so memorably in The Godfather Part 2. Tragically, Cazale's 11-year battle with lung cancer ended on March 13, 1978, with his girlfriend, Deer Hunter co-star Meryl Streep by his side. Aware of his terminal illness during the production, director Michael Cimino reportedly rearranged the shooting order of the film so Cazale could complete his scenes. Unfortunately, Cazale never got the opportunity to celebrate the release of The Deer Hunter. The film premiered in Los Angeles in December of 1978, 9 months after his tragically premature death at the age of 42. Unlike many of the bodyguards who protected the Corleone family, Richard Bright's character Al Neri survived all three Godfather films.
The old Dons were pretty much wiped out. The ones that survived made deals with Joey Zaza.
Bright had a prolific career that goes all the way back to 1957 when he first began appearing in films, television shows, and stage plays. Notably, in 1971, he played Al Pacino's character's brother, Hank, in The Panic in Needle Park, and in 1972 played the Thief alongside Steve McQueen and Ally McGraw in The Getaway. Apart from playing Neri in all three Godfather films, the steely-eyed actor alternated between bad guy and good guy roles in a variety of films, including Marathon Man, Red Heat, and Once Upon a Time in America. He also appeared in a string of television series, including the prison drama Oz, the iconic mafia series The Sopranos, and the Law & Order franchise. Bright died in a tragic accident at the age of 68. On February 18, 2006, while crossing a street on New York's Upper West Side, he was hit and killed by a bus. 14 years after his death, Bright's contribution to the Godfather saga was honored once more with Coppola's redux of the third Godfather film, a re-edited version retitled The Godfather Coda: The Death of Michael Corleone. The third chapter features more of Al Neri than any other Godfather film, as Neri has escalated in the ranks to become a close confidant of Michael and Connie Corleone. Singer-turned-actor Al Martino played Johnny Fontane, the silky-voiced crooner looking for his big break in motion pictures in the first chapter of The Godfather.
Johnny, canta una canzone, sing a song!
In one memorable early scene, while pleading his case to Marlon Brando's Vito Corleone, crying about how he missed out on a role in a film, the weepy Fontane is slapped by the incensed Don Vito.
You can act like a man! What's the matter with you?
And, spoiler alert, Johnny got the role after a studio executive was forced to accept an offer he, well, really couldn't refuse. In real life, Martino stuck to his successful career as a singer, scoring a slew of hits over the years. While he's most well known for the song Spanish Eyes, other hits include Here in My Heart and I Love You Because. His songs also appeared on movie soundtracks, most notably as the title track of the eerie Bette Davis thriller Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte. Naturally, Martino's songs were featured on the soundtracks of The Godfather and The Godfather Part 3, where he reprised the role of Fontane. Martino was 82 years old when he died of a heart attack in Pennsylvania on October 13, 2009. While some actors only appeared in a scene or two in the Godfather trilogy, they still become etched in the minds of movie fans. Perhaps the most memorable of these supporting players, John Marley, who played defiant studio executive Jack Waltz in the first film. Waltz appeared in two notable scenes in the film where Vito Corleone's adopted son Tom Hagen, played by Robert Duvall, arrived in Hollywood with an offer the studio head couldn't refuse. Cast Johnny Fontane in his new film, or else. Waltz blasted Hagen's offer, only to wake up the next morning with the bloodied head of his prize stallion tucked into bed with him. Not surprisingly, Fontane landed the role. Marley was a prolific actor, having amassed more than 170 film and television credits over his 35-year career. His appearance as Ally McGraw's father in Love Story was a particular highlight, earning him a Best Supporting Actor Oscar nomination.
Don't talk like that, Oliver. A father's love is something to cherish and respect. It's a rare thing.
Marley had roles in several television series, including Hawaii Five-0 and The Twilight Zone. The actor died after open-heart surgery on May 22, 1984. He was 76 years old. Like John Marley's Jack Waltz, the appearance of Lenny Montana's Luca Brasi is brief but memorable. Brasi, Don Vito Corleone's deadliest assassin, first appears in the film rehearsing his speech and then presenting a gift to the Don for his daughter, Connie, on her wedding day.
Well, who is he? What's his name?
His name is Luca Brasi. He helps my father out sometimes.
Later, Brasi is stabbed and garroted in a vicious scene on the orders of Corleone foe, Virgil Sollazzo, played by Al Lettieri. After Brasi's death, Sollazzo delivers a message to the Corleone family that their fearsome henchman sleeps with the fishes. The Godfather was actually Montana's first credited film role. Born Lenny Pasaforo, he made his living as a professional wrestler going under the name Lenny the Bull Montana in the 1950s and 60s. Keeping the Montana moniker for his film career, the 6'6" actor's powerful physique not only came in handy for landing his role in The Godfather, but other films that required a heavy, acting with Harvey Keitel in Fingers and Jackie Chan in Battle Creek Brawl. Montana died of a heart attack on May 12, 1992. He was 66 years old. Abe Vigoda became best known as Detective Phil Fish on the classic cop sitcom Barney Miller and later on his own spin-off series Fish. But the actor first made a splash a few years earlier as Salvatore Tessio, a high-ranking member of the Corleone family who delivered an iconic line in The Godfather. During a meeting with Michael Corleone, Sonny Corleone, and Tom Hagen, Tessio enters the room with a bulletproof vest wrapped in brown paper. The package contains famously a dead fish.
That's a Sicilian message. It means Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes.
When Tessio betrays the family and finds himself facing a similar fate, he begs for mercy.
Tom, can you get me off the hook? For old time's sake.
Like many of his fellow Godfather actors, Vigoda had a prolific career with nearly 100 roles to his name. They included early television appearances on such series as Barney Miller, Dark Shadows, and The Love Boat. Vigoda's film work included Joe vs. the Volcano and Good Burger. He was also a favorite and frequent guest on Late Night with Conan O'Brien. Vigoda, who outlasted persistent rumors of his death, passed away from natural causes on January 26, 2016. He was 94 years old. Like many of his castmates, Richard S. Castellano rose to prominence after appearing in the first Godfather. Before being cast as Corleone family captain Peter Clemenza, Castellano had appeared in about a dozen films and television productions. Clemenza became famous for uttering these 6 classic words, which Castellano says he partly improvised.
Leave the gun. Take the cannoli.
Castellano, who only appeared in the first Godfather film, worked steadily afterwards, mostly in television. His credits included the lead role in the sitcom The Super, where he played a building superintendent. He took another lead as Joe Vitale in the sitcom Joe and Sons, and appeared as a crime-heavy once more in the miniseries The Gangster Chronicles. Castellano died on December 10, 1988, after suffering a heart attack. He was 55. While Bruno Kirby is predominantly known for his comedic work in such films as When Harry Met Sally, City Slickers, and This Is Spinal Tap, his early work also included a dramatic turn as the young Peter Clemenza in The Godfather Part 2. Francis Ford Coppola and Mario Puzo took the first Godfather sequel in a different direction as the film's narrative hopped back and forth between the past and the present to recount the rise of Robert De Niro's young Vito Corleone before he became a don in New York's criminal underworld. Kirby's career was well underway before he betrayed the young Clemenza. His credits included the short-lived sitcom The Super, where he played one of Richard S. Castellano's sons. Kirby would go on to claim an impressive 70 screen credits in his 35-year career, including roles opposite Marlon Brando and Matthew Broderick in the mob comedy The Freshman.
Tragically, I suffer from a gambling problem.
Kirby played opposite another Godfather alum, Al Pacino, in Donnie Brasco. He also worked with Gary Shandling on both It's Gary Shandling Show and The Larry Sanders Show. Kirby's life and career were cut short on August 14, 2006, when he passed away due to complications from leukemia at the age of 57. Michael V. Gazzo's Frank Pantangeli was a major figure in The Godfather Part 2 as the Corleone family capo regime who replaced Peter Clemenza and ran the family's operations in New York City while Michael Corleone relocated to Las Vegas.
Hey, what's with the food around here?
What's the matter?
Kid comes up to me in a white jacket, gives me a Ritz cracker and a chopped liver, he says, can of peas.
Eventually, in an effort to save his own hide, Pentangeli began cooperating with the US government and was prepared to turn on Michael and testify against him before a US Senate panel. He ultimately recanted his story and took his own life to preserve the Sicilian Code of Honor. Like the first Godfather film, the sequel yielded more than one Best Supporting Actor nomination. This time it pitted Gazzo against legendary acting coach Lee Strasberg, who played Corleone family investor Hyman Roth, as well as Robert De Niro, who ended up winning for his portrayal of a young Vito Corleone. Despite his loss, Gazzo's 1974 Oscar nom still gave him a major career boost. He went on to appear in the mob comedy Cookie, the crime drama Fingers, and the 1977 thriller Black Sunday. Gazzo also booked dozens of guest roles on popular television shows, including Taxi. Before his acting career, Gazzo was known as a respected playwright, penning the 1955 classic A Hatful of Rain, later turned into an Oscar-nominated film. Gazzo died on February 14, 1995 at the age of 71 after suffering a stroke. Stage director Lee Strasberg has long been celebrated in Hollywood for his work as a legendary acting coach, both at his Actors Studio in New York City and at the Actors Studio West in Los Angeles. He had a great number of famous students, including Marilyn Monroe, Paul Newman, and James Dean, along with Godfather stars Marlon Brando, Al Pacino, and Robert De Niro. Strasberg's role as Corleone family investor and business partner Hyman Roth, who eventually betrays Michael Corleone, marked a rare step away from his work as an educator.
And I said to myself, this is the business we've chosen.
It was only appropriate that the man who taught so many legendary actors be nominated for an Oscar himself, which came in the Best Supporting Actor category. Strasberg was nominated opposite fellow Godfather Part 2 stars Michael V. Gazzo and Robert De Niro. De Niro ended up winning the prize for his portrayal of young Vito Corleone. Post-Godfather, Strasberg popped up in a few more films, notably the legal drama and Justice for All opposite Pacino, and the crime comedy Going in Style with George Burns and Art Carney. But Strasberg's true passion was always teaching, which he continued to do at the Actors Studio, where he remained until his death from a heart attack on February 17, 1982. He was 80 years old. Even a powerful US politician was no match for Don Michael Corleone in The Godfather Part 2, at least as G.D. Spradlin's character, Senator Pat Geary, painfully discovered. Spradlin perfectly embodied a corrupt politician in the film, playing a man who tried to extort a large sum of money from Michael, including monthly personal payouts as the Corleone family tried to expand its Las Vegas hotel operation.
I despise your masquerade, the dishonest way you pose yourself.
Pressing Michael and the family further with U.S. Senate hearings, Geary eventually found himself in a compromising position, a strong signal that the Corleones are the only people who can make offers you can't refuse. A lawyer turned oil producer before finding his calling in acting, Spradlin started off his career with a sting of guest turns on such television series as I Spy and Bonanza. After his role as the slimy Pat Geary in The Godfather Part 2, Spradlin enjoyed a long career in film. Some of his features included North Dallas 40 and Ed Wood, with Bill Murray and Johnny Depp. Notably, Spradlin worked with The Godfather director Francis Ford Coppola a second time, playing General Corman in the acclaimed film Apocalypse Now. Spradlin's final role came in 1999, when he played legendary Washington Post executive editor Ben Bradlee in the political comedy spoof Dick, alongside Will Ferrell, Kirsten Dunst, and Michelle Williams.
You're talking about the man who controls access to the leader of the free world.
Spradlin died of natural causes at age 90 on July 24, 2011. Legendary actor Eli Wallach didn't join the Godfather saga until the third film in 1990, bringing decades of movie and television experience to the role of Don Osvaldo Altobello. The wily Altobello seems to be an ally of Michael Corleone in the film, at least until the exposure of his betrayal, leading to his poisoning at the Opera House during the film's extended climax.
You're not telling me the whole truth, Vincenzo.
Wallach compiled an amazing 172 credits over his 60-year career and was honored for his television work with 5 Primetime Emmy Award nominations. The first in 1967 resulted in a win for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Drama for The Poppy Is Also a Flower, with the last nod coming in 2010 for Outstanding Guest Actor in a Comedy Series for Nurse Jackie. While it took 6 decades, Wallach was finally honored with the ultimate prize, an honorary Oscar for Lifetime Achievement in 2011. The actor's impressive film resume included memorable turns in such features as the legendary western The Magnificent Seven, where he starred alongside Yul Brynner, Steve McQueen, and James Coburn, and director Sergio Leone's iconic The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, playing opposite Clint Eastwood. He also appeared alongside Marilyn Monroe in her last film, The Misfits.
Well, tell me. He doesn't know what you're all about. He'll never know.
Wallach's last feature film role was in the 2010 Wall Street sequel, Wall Street: Money Never Sleeps. The actor died on June 24, 2014 at age 98 of natural causes. Perhaps no Godfather movie death is more painful to watch than that of Alex Rocco's Moe Greene, the volatile, gravel-voiced Las Vegas casino owner who roughs up Fredo Corleone.
Do you know who I am? I'm Moe Greene. I made my bones when you were going out with cheerleaders.
Greene's harsh treatment of Michael's brother naturally gets to Michael. This, along with the fact that Greene is unwilling to sell his casinos to the family, results in one of the most vivid assassinations in the trilogy. Moe is shot through the eye while getting a massage during the climactic bloodbath in the film's third act. Greene's death is significant, as it is implied in The Godfather Part 2 that Hyman Rothis, driven by the death of his childhood friend and business partner to destroy Michael.
That kid's name was Moe Greene.
With less than a dozen film and TV roles to his credit, Rocco's career took off after his menacing portrayal of Greene. Like his career before The Godfather, the actor's work alternated between film and television, but at a much busier pace. On television, Rocco guest starred on such series as The Golden Girls and The Facts of Life.
Wait, where did you ever get the idea that we were getting married?
Later, he had a role on The George Carlin Show, playing George's best friend, the ex-con Harry Rossetti. Rocco won a Primetime Emmy in 1990 for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series for his role as Al Floss in the famous Teddy Z. On film, Rocco appeared in Cannonball Run 2, a seemingly popular destination for Godfather alumni, and played gangster Jimmy Cap in Get Shorty, which made reference to his unforgettable death in The Godfather. He also appeared in Dream a Little Dream, The Wedding Planner, and as the boisterous record executive Saul Seiler in Tom Hanks' directorial debut That Thing You Do.
It is jam with kids. And why? Why? I'll tell you why. These wonders are playing music like nectar.
Rocco died from pancreatic cancer on July 18, 2015 at age 79. Virgil Sollozzo was a character living on borrowed time in The Godfather, and Al Lettieri was the actor who gave Sollozzo such an intense, menacing presence.
No more attempts on my father's life. What guarantees can I give you, Mike? I am the hunted one.
The arrival of Sollozzo, a heroin kingpin, marked a sea change in the criminal underworld of New York City, where Don Vito Corleone had advised the 5 crime families to rebuke the drug business. Things came to a head when Sollozzo had a hand in killing Vito's bodyguard, Luca Brasi, and tried but failed to assassinate Vito, leading Michael to commit his first murder on behalf of the family.
You know who I am?
Prior to The Godfather, Lettieri's career was full of television appearances, including guest roles on such classics as Perry Mason and Gunsmoke. Like many of his Godfather acting counterparts, Lettieri's film opportunities expanded greatly after his exposure in the film, landing him in such features as The Getaway with Steve McQueen, McHugh opposite John Wayne, and Mr. Majestic starring Charles Bronson. Sadly, Lettieri's career was cut short when he died of a heart attack on October 18, 1975. He was just 47 years old. Michael Corleone passes the point of no return in The Godfather when he assassinates family rival Virgil Sollozzo. But sitting right there with him and becoming Michael's second victim is Captain Mark McCluskey, played by Hollywood legend Sterling Hayden.
Stand him up. Stand him up straight.
McCluskey is a corrupt police official who doubles as an ad hoc bodyguard of Sollozzo while also taking bribes from the Tattaglia family. Michael proposes to execute both Sollozzo and McCluskey after a failed attempt on Don Vito Corleone's life. The public execution of the pair at a public restaurant is brief but brutal.
How's the Italian food in this restaurant?
Hayden was already a bona fide film star by the time he was cast in The Godfather, with more than 4 roles to his credit, including John Huston's The Asphalt Jungle and Johnny Guitar. Hayden also appeared in 2 acclaimed Stanley Kubrick films, The Killing and Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb.
Total commitment.
The towering Hayden, who stood at 6 feet 5 inches tall, relaxed his pace a bit after The Godfather. He still worked though, starring in lighter fare like the classic workplace comedy 9 to 5. After a battle with cancer, Hayden died on May 23, 1986 at the age of 70. Fans of The Godfather are quite familiar with Carmela Corleone, played by Morgana King. Also known as Mama Corleone, Carmela is mother to Sonny, Fredo, Michael, and Connie Corleone, as well as the adoptive mother of Tom Hagen. And even though she only has a few lines, it's clear this is a woman who puts her family first.
You go see your children first, and then you worry about waiting online to see your brother, like everybody else.
She's also the wife of Don Vito Corleone and suffers through the execution of Sonny and the death of Vito after his sudden heart attack. On a more positive note, she will always be remembered for her singing at Connie's wedding reception. This made sense seeing as how King was a professional singer who had an impressive 4-octave contralto vocal range. Aside from reprising her role as Mama Corleone for The Godfather Part 2, King only had a handful of screen credits on both film and television, most notably in a recurring role on the classic daytime soap All My Children in 1993. Her last screen appearance came in 1997 in the Danny Aiello crime drama A Brooklyn State of Mind. King died from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma on March 22, 2018 at the age of 87. The death of Marlon Brando in 2004 was a loss for fans of classic cinema and the Godfather series alike. A truly legendary presence, Brando's storied film career began with his star-making appearances in films like On the Waterfront and A Streetcar Named Desire.
Hey, Stella!
What's interesting about Brando's turn as Don Vito Corleone is that while he was already an iconic Oscar-nominated actor, his career in Hollywood was actually on a bit of a downslide. In fact, director Francis Ford Coppola had to fight to get the actor cast after a string of box office bombs. It finally happened, but only under strict conditions set out by Paramount Pictures, including a screen test, quite unprecedented for such an esteemed actor. The 47-year-old Brando's transformation into the much older Don Vito was not lost on fans, critics, and the film industry. It earned him his second Best Actor Oscar and revitalized his career. Brando went to other acclaimed roles, including Kal-El's father, Jor-El, in director Richard Donner's Superman, and the crazed, reclusive Colonel Kurtz in Coppola's Vietnam War classic Apocalypse Now. Even though Brando famously spurned his Best Actor Oscar for The Godfather to protest the treatment of Native Americans, the Motion Picture Academy rewarded him one last time with a Best Supporting Actor nomination for the 1989 anti-apartheid drama A Dry White Season. Other notable roles followed, including the 2005 comedy drama Don Juan DeMarco and the troubled 1996 remake of The Island of Dr. Moreau.
Look at yourself.
I understand that I must be shocking to you.
Brando's final feature film appearance came opposite Robert De Niro and Edward Norton in the 2001 heist thriller The Score. The legendary actor died 3 years later on July 1, 2004 at age 80 from pulmonary fibrosis, leaving behind one of the greatest legacies in film history. Fans of the Godfather trilogy know that Sonny Corleone, played by James Caan in the first two films, had a legendary reputation among all of the mafia families as heir to the Corleone Empire, and as a guy with a serious temper.
Come on, knock it off. Come on, Sonny Hunk.
Furthering their war with the other five families, Sonny gets on the last nerve of Emilio Barzini, who sets a trap for the hot-headed Corleone heir. Sonny is brutally killed on the causeway, leaving his brother Michael to finish the war he started and turn the Corleones into the most powerful crime family ever known. At the end of Part 3, Sonny's illegitimate son Vincent, played by Andy Garcia, takes over the empire, something which certainly would have made his father proud.
What did he say? Bada-beep, bada-bap, bada-boop, bada-beep. He wants us to send Michael to hear the proposition. And the promise is that the deal is so good that we can't refuse, eh?
Although Sonny's life was cut short, actor James Caan had an incredibly long and successful career spanning nearly 60 years, with hits in almost every decade. Though his most recognizable work might be as Sonny, Caan also had starring roles in many other major films, including Michael Mann's Thief, Rob Reiner's Misery, Francis Ford Coppola's Gardens of Stone, and Wes Anderson's Bottle Rocket.
I want to tell you something, kid. You got the guts of a damn lion.
But perhaps Caan's most famous performance outside of The Godfather is also the most unlikely one, his comedic turn as Will Ferrell's father in Elf. Caan's portrayal of children's book publisher Walter Hobbs in Jon Favreau's Christmas classic brought him a whole new legion of fans. Sadly, the actor died on July 6, 2022, and the film industry would never be the same.